It's just such a burden, you guys. Why do I have to be better than absolutely everyone else? So I go on a date with this guy, Kevin. Yeah, how'd that turn out for you? Oh man, bad date stories are always the tastiest thing ever. I have no idea why dating hell got shut down. Is there an equivalent? Are you guys aware of one? Because I've been looking for one and just not finding it. Anyways, into the story. So, my friend Jason sets me up with this guy, Kevin. I had been unlucky in dating, so he shows me a picture. I think Kevin is somewhat nice looking, so I agree to the date. He calls me the day before and we have a conversation. He seemed nice enough, though he did go on and on about his career as a 5th grade teacher for far longer than I'd asked, and he hardly asked me any questions aside from what kind of restaurants I liked. I named several, but at one point, which I guess he had taken a little too literally, I mentioned that I liked spicy food. Already feel bad for Kevin. He's an awkward dude and he's trying his best. If he could learn to be less self-absorbed and learn things about the people around him, he could be really successful in dating. Unfortunately, learning in Kevin's is just, yeah, that don't do. So, Kevin is supposed to pick me up at 6:30. It is currently 6:41, and without so much as a courtesy text letting me know that he'd be running late, he comes speeding down my street and literally slams his brakes once he reaches my driveway, skidding several feet and leaving tire marks, which remained out front for about a year. And you are willingly going to get into this car? Look, I know you agreed to the date, but maybe we call an Uber or something. If I'm gonna put my life in somebody's hands, why not an amateur semi-professional? So Kevin sees me standing at the door, and I exit my house and begin walking in his direction when suddenly he slams on the horn. He's a real class act, isn't he? I wave frantically to get him to stop, but he continues until I reach his car door. Already, it's just a train wreck. I hear the lock click and I get in. I say hello and hang on to his stare for just a moment. He remains silent and looks me up and down as I'm pulling the seatbelt across my lap. I sit back, exhale, and notice that he is staring somewhat intently, read creepily, into my eyes. I think he was just trying to be super attractive, but he lacked the swag to attempt this ladies' man stunt. I don't see this ever working, especially not on a first meeting. Like, you gotta build a rapport. And then in that moment, you stare into her eyes, but you don't just start doing that and think it's gonna work. That's just creepy. I was feeling a little uneasy that we were still just sitting in front of my house, so I tried to break the ice with, "So you ready?" Politely smiling. "Nice shoes. They look expensive," he says, despite my shoes being shrouded in darkness underneath the glove compartment. I guess they started the car eventually. So we're driving along, and I immediately begin to sense his lack of confidence, which I did feel kind of bad about. I understand the pressure on guys when they take a new girl out. So he's asking me what kind of music I like, feverishly clicking through stations, anticipating my response. So OP decides to test him. Why you gotta do this? Well, like, not even 30 minutes into the first date, I'm gonna tell you 100 reasons this doesn't work out. He's too much of a people pleaser, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna test him. Like, why not just be honest, you know? You're going on a date to get to know each other, and you're like, I lied to him to see what he'd do. It's like, gross. I want to see if he has the backbone to stop at a station that he prefers rather than pandering to my preference, so I casually throw out country. Disappointingly, Kevin starts desperately turning the dial until he gets to the country station and then quite literally blasts it when he reaches said station. Yeah, gross. He did the thing that you asked him to do. He's not a Kevin. I mean, kind of. The shoe thing was pretty weird, as was screeching down your driveway, honking on the horn, showing up late. Okay, well, he's mostly in the hole, but I think the radio thing was not a very cool move from OP, personally. So at this point, I know that unless he's some sort of magician, there is nothing he could do to save himself from the flaming dumpster fire that this date has turned into. I mean, as soon as he screeched into the driveway, I'm like, don't know. Why?
You're all going to die down here.
So I just mechanically begin going through the motions. The drive was an exercise in futility. There is no icebreaker or even awkward conversation. Just turn around. Just go home. Don't waste the time or the money on the date. It's over. We tried and it's over. This is why coffee is much better for a first date than like actual food. Because you're not as committed. You're just like, okay, I take my coffee, go, see you later. You can end it at any time. I find that reassuring. So at this point, I'm mostly convinced that Kevin is just inexperienced and timid rather than actively weird. He's driving erratically and glancing at me nervously over and over. I'm afraid he's going to run a red light, and we are both going to not make it home tonight. You say that like it's a surprise, OP. You knew he was a maniac when he rolled up to your house. All right, whatever, we moving on. So we get to the restaurant, finally. Salam Ethiopian Kitchen. I kid you not. If you are ever in the Chicago metro area, look it up. Guess he really took to whole heart the whole spicy food thing. Ethiopian, I ask? Is it good? Oh yeah, I love it. Okay. At this point, my BS barometer is through the roof, but I set aside a sliver of hope that maybe he does know what he's doing. He definitely doesn't. He's too much of a people pleaser. He's way out of his depth and thinks he could just fake his way through it. It is sad to watch. I feel bad for him, honestly. So we sit some pillows on the floor. I'm wearing a bit of a skimpy dress, so I am instantly uncomfortable. He leans back and begins flexing his chest through his button-down cloth shirt, unbuttoning the top button and commenting, "It's getting hot in here," while suggestively shooting me the most graceless, cumbersome bedroom eyes that I have ever received. Maybe he's not as inexperienced as he seems. Or he just watched too many pickup artist YouTube videos. I'm not too sure. I really don't understand how Kevin thinks any of this is working. Can we just be honest with each other? I know we just met, but let's have a frank conversation right now. I was right. Kevin begins in this weirdly whispery voice, followed by uselessly redundant comments. Your shoes do look expensive. What is with that? I actually giggled and covered my mouth, giving a knee-jerk apology for basically laughing in his face. No, please, let him know this is not acceptable behavior. So the waiter comes over and he hands us some menus, asking us what we'd like to drink. There's a short pause, I presume to be chivalrous, allowing me to order first, but as soon as I begin speaking, Kevin holds up his hand and says, the lady will have a water with lemon and a glass of Chateau St. Pierre. I interrupt with, actually, can I just have a Diet Coke? Kevin then interrupts me once more looks at the waiter and comments, "I insist." The waiter gives me an awkward glance, which I reciprocate, and he looks back to Kevin and politely asks, "So, what am I bringing?" The waiter is the most honest one in the story. Like, look, guys, I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. Please feed me instruction. I identify so very much. Kevin's overconfident masquerade instantly melts away, and he says, Diet Coke. So funny. At this point, I just want out. I'm not a difficult girl to take on a date. I've had many dates where a guy doesn't display the utmost degree of confidence, and understanding the pressure that they are under, I've granted them a break, and many times, even a second date. It's interesting to me how you think that that's like you both didn't mutually agree to go out on a second date. I don't know what's happening. OP wants to reiterate that, however, this date was an utter train wreck. So I started to generate surface level small talk in hopes that he might start asking me questions, actually wanting to get to know me a little. But instead, he just starts going on and on about his kids, students, calling them terrible names, yes, using those terms on a date, and he even bragged about other female teachers whom, to quote him, would totally kill to be in my position right now. At this point, I am trying achingly hard to hold back laughter. The food eventually comes, and we begin eating. He orders a plethora of appetizers, which he begins voraciously inhaling, very impolitely. I'm convinced that he's asking me useless questions like, where did you grow up, and what is your job history? What is this, a goddamn job interview? Just so he can shove more food into his mouth. Isn't that what you want? You were asking him to ask you questions, and now he is, and it's not the right question. Dude. So he's dumping copious amounts of hot sauce onto his food while reminding me that he loves spicy food. Though before the main course comes, I notice that he is dripping with sweat. Oh, yeah, that's probably not a great look. I ask him if he's okay. He's chugging water like Aaron Ralston after 5 days in the canyon and repeatedly calling the waiter over for piles of napkins to dry off with. At least he's aware, okay? Let's not shame him for trying to dry himself off. Let's shame him for insisting he likes spicy food in the first place when he clearly doesn't. Like, liking spicy food ain't a flex, is it? But again, you just gotta be real. You just gotta be honest, you know? You don't gotta lie to kick it. Order something, don't put hot sauce on it. What's wrong with you? At this point, Kevin's armpit sweat is branching out towards his ribs. And then I get an ill feeling when his stomach starts grumbling and he's sitting forward, straining his neck so hard, it looks like his carotid artery is about to burst and start showering me with his blood. I mean, that would be an eventful end to this date, wouldn't it? I'm just imagining like that red-faced kid in class meme, you know? Does he have to poop real bad? He's just trying not to squirt it everywhere? By now, I'm in such disbelief that I feel like I'm watching a movie. You're right, OP, it is kind of like a movie. Like an Adam Sandler movie that doesn't have any of the likable characters or jokes. So actually, yeah, just like an Adam Sandler movie.
Don't forget your sweat shadow.
What?
So OP asks, are you sure you can eat more of this stuff? I ask, genuinely getting concerned. He begins holding his fist to his mouth and burping. I always react this way to Ethiopian. I love it. Maybe he's just a masochist. I don't know what's happening. I begin to recoil, thinking that he is about to projectile spew rice over my shoulder while silently pleading with God that the date ends as soon as possible. I mean, dude's out here putting it all on the line, right? I can acknowledge that he's really quite a weird dude, and some of the stuff he does and says is super not okay. But it's a first date, you know? Going down there with his acid reflux burning an ulcer into his stomach. No milady's worth that type of effort. Especially not this one. So because OP knows nothing about African food, I had absolutely no clue what he had ordered. So the waiter shows up with this tray of like half a dozen plates. He sits 2 of them in front of me. I ordered some chicken dish with vegetables. Then he removes several of Kevin's appetizer dishes and sets down 4 plates piled to the freaking ceiling with meat and rice and whatever. Oh, so now we're just gonna shame him for eating on the date? I can't stand it, dude. I'm starting to lose it for real. Maybe a hot take, but I'm my civility is waning. So I try to continue the conversation, but realizing that he only likes to talk about himself, I ask some more mundane questions about his dating history. What is this, a job interview? To which he replies, in between more rapid burping, wouldn't you like to know? I decide to abandon all polite decency at this point, since he's made the decision to act like a complete. He's trying to play the mysterious card with the wherewithal of a 13-year-old. And I say, okay, well, I guess this date has hit a wall. I suppose I did him a favor ending the date before it had actually ended. I'll be back, he mutters, jumping to his feet and proceeding to take a call, despite his phone not ringing, and he walks off towards the men's room. And he is gone for like 15 minutes. So what you're saying is you waited for this dude for 15 minutes so he could give you the drive of shame back home? This date's over now. Drive me home, girl. I'm so done. I am so done. OP starts to wonder if she could catch a Uber or maybe even leave with a rando, possibly murderous stranger before he comes sauntering out with his phone still up to his face. The entire front of his shirt so sopping wet that whatever patches of dry spots are left appear like a cluster of tiny islands on a world map. The rest is the ocean. I just feel bad for this dude. But I did have him pegged early on, just like way too much of a people pleaser. Good God. So Kevin sits back down and starts unbuttoning halfway down his shirt. I can see his soaked wife beater underneath. I'm frantically texting friends at this point, begging to get picked up, and I actually score. My friend Melody agrees to hurry down right now. I just want whatever traces of excretion that are on his fingers from whatever the hell went on in that bathroom to stay where they are. And seeing as he awkwardly placed his hand on the small of my back and partially my butt when I entered, I assumed that this was going to be a certainty. Yeah, okay, I have to go, he nearly yells into the phone.
Clean out your locker at the club, Bob. You're fired!
Again, just more dishonesty from Kevin. It's never the way to go, okay? Anyways. Kevin burps. Principal's on my butt. I'm sorry I was gone so long. Treating the date now as a source of entertainment, I indulge him. What was that all about? I question, sending a text to my friend to hurry. Mind you, this was the very first time I'd touched my phone all night. This dude just got up and left me alone for almost 20 minutes, And then he has the nuts to say, I'm giving you 5 seconds to stop looking at your phone, or you're paying for dinner. That's it, I say angrily, throwing my hands up. I'm leaving. Please don't follow me. Calm down, he says. And the last thing that came out of his mouth, spectacularly, was, do you like Italian food? I jump up, drop down $10 for the tip, which I would have at least insisted on anyway, and left him to stew in his own perspiration. Yeah, and then the whole restaurant stood up and clapped. I know, 'cause I was the t-shirt. Come on, bro. I definitely don't think that Kevin is a good person, but I mean, OP ain't really either, you know? It's all equals pequals around here. As I'm leaving, the waiter catches my eye, smiles somberly, and laughingly whispers, I'm so sorry. I wish he would have taken me out. I bet he does. I bet he runs out after her and he's like, here's my number. Just wait, just wait. So I waited in the freezing cold on a random street corner on Broadway in the city of Chicago for 10 minutes until I finally get picked up. I exhale and let the anger and anxiety wash over me. I text Jason, who set us up and told us it was a disaster. His response, oh, damn. Sorry, hoped for once it wouldn't be like that. For once. Jesus, it didn't end there. Then Kevin sent me a barrage of angry texts calling me many mean names, and I'm still trying to figure out what that even means. So, a bit later on that night, Jason sends me a text. Mind you, I have blocked Kevin at this point. I open the text and it's a screenshot. Kevin went to his own Facebook wall and posted, OP's full name gives a terrible blowy. But you still went blowy. I immediately begin freaking out when Jason sends me another, reading, don't worry. I told him he could lose his teaching license over that, telling me that Kevin had taken it down. I searched this guy just to be sure, and it turns out he did, in fact, delete it. Or maybe he only posted it to friends. I should totally friend him. And indeed, a piece of OP died that night. My hope in humanity is several degrees lower than it was before. Oh, you too. And it will remain that way forever, until I hear that this guy's been struck by lightning and extinguished from the face of the earth. Bro, that is so strong for what just happened. He took you out on a date that he thought you'd like and ate food that he probably shouldn't have eaten. Like, yeah, oh, hey, we weren't compatible, and now I would like to see you in a pine wood box. What are you talking about? So maybe a year later, I brought Kevin up at a party where Jason was, discussing bad dates around a fire. Jason, after my story, expelled one interesting little anecdote about Kevin, which evidently took place after me. He'd been set up on another date. I have no idea who the girl was or how it occurred, but she ended up going home with him. Apparently, they pulled up in front of his house and Kevin said, hold on, I just need to clean up a little bit. Give me a second. Oh, we know from Chris Trucker what cleaning up actually means. He's gonna go do what he needs to do so he can go give her the ride of a lifetime, right? You don't want to walk around with the loaded handgun. That's all I'm saying. So Kevin shuts the car off and leaves this girl inside the freezing cold for a half hour while he cleans his filthy house. At least he's cleaning it, I guess. She said that when she entered his home, it was still absolutely disgusting. When I asked what happened next, Jason said, I don't know, but after she got home, she called me up crying. Yeah, almost going home with a neckbeard Kevin. That is like a rock bottom. That should be an awakening. Not even Kevin has ever disclosed the details of that night. My guess is, well, now that I think about it, that's a guess I'd rather not take. The end. I find it completely fascinating that a year later, this OP is still talking about this bad date that she has, still letting it roll around in her head. What actually happened that you want him to get struck by lightning? All I'm saying is it's a little sus. You know, if every date you go on is a bad date, maybe there's a common denominator there that we should look at. You know, I'm just throwing it out there. That's just my take on the whole situation. I don't know, I usually love bad date stories, but I don't feel like anybody truly won in this one. Unless, of course, we're talking about the viewers, because they seem to like it when I go in on OPs. But I don't think I overdid it, you know? It's like just my honest opinion on what I'm reading. I hope that you will still find it in your hearts to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Thank you so very much. I'd also like to ask you to follow me on all them social medias. There's a lot of links in the description. Please check them out. And also, beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful channel patrons and YouTube members, thank you guys so much for helping me out month after month while we do this thing month after month. I appreciate each and every one of you. Keep yourself safe out there. Wash your hands. Join us again tomorrow. And of course, always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy. You definitely, definitely deserve it. And I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.